friends. Today we are going to discuss the topic Ancient Indian Wisdom and Management. We all know that over the last half a century or so, particularly since the World War II, management has emerged as a very important discipline, as a field of discipline, field of study, field of knowledge. And that is primarily because the field of management helps the society in optimizing the utilization of all resources that are available at its disposal. We all know that as far as sciences are concerned, they are essential for the growth and development and evolution, particularly the material evolution of people. And that is because it is science which brings all the new products, all the new commodities, all the new facilities, all the new infrastructure. But the innovations that are made by science, they are commercialized, they are brought to the people called customers. They are brought in an efficient and effective manner with the help of the field of management. So, management is regarded as one of the most important disciplines in social sciences. There is no dispute about it. However, as far as we in India are concerned, we have been teaching, studying, researching, practicing this field of management with the help of the paradigm or the theoretical framework provided to us by the Westerners. All theories of management, whether these are theories of leadership or theories of motivation, theories of process management, theories of commitment, or all other theories that you can think of in the field of management, they have been developed basically fundamentally in the Western world. And here we have adopted them, we are teaching them, training our future managers, current managers in the light of those people. In the light of what has been given to us by the Western society. Now, question is that we in India culturally, philosophically are very different from the Westerners. The way we function, the way we act, the way we respond, the way we conduct ourselves, the kind of customs we have, the kind of practices we have, those all are very different from those of the Westerners. But still, the system is such that we are forced in a way. Of course, it is voluntary, but I feel that we are forced by the system to teach their theories, to teach the framework which has been developed in a culture which is very different from ours. Now, one question that comes to the mind, therefore, is should we continue to do that, or we should try to develop an alternative? Obviously, any thinking individual or any person who is more realistic and more rooted into the reality or grounded reality of this country will agree with me when I say that we should develop our own theory, our own way of looking at management, the teaching of management, learning of management, the training of management and practice of management. So, if we agree with this point that India needs to have its own theoretical framework, India needs to have its own paradigm, India needs to have its own way of looking at management as a discipline, its own way of teaching management as a discipline, its own way of learning management as a discipline, then you will agree that we should make a beginning in this direction. Now, from where do we begin? Different people may have different views, different scholars may have different opinion about this. My thinking is that to make a beginning, let us first start by looking at the ancient Indian wisdom, because our roots of our thinking, roots of our practices, roots of our culture, they lie in the ancient Indian wisdom. So, what is this ancient Indian wisdom? So, before I talk about the aspects of ancient Indian wisdom, let us first try to understand what this wisdom is. What do we mean by this word wisdom? In a very, very simple way, if we look at the knowledge or levels of understanding, then we can look at it in this way. To understand various phenomena, at the lowest level are the facts. And when these facts are organized and they are given some sort of formation, then these facts become information. And when information is utilized for some purpose, when this information is interpreted, then it becomes knowledge. And when the knowledge becomes enlightened, that becomes wisdom. So wisdom essentially is the knowledge or information or facts which are essentially enlightened. And what do we mean by enlightened? Enlightened means for the greater good, for the upliftment of the self of the person who is practicing, and also of the selves of those for whom that knowledge is to be utilized. Shri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says that Jnanam Vijnana Sahitam Yad Gyatva Mokshasi Shubhat. Now, what does it mean? He says Jnanam Vijnana Sahitam. That is, all the knowledge should be a knowledge which should be with wisdom. Jnanam Vijnana Sahitam Yat Gyatva Mokshasi Shubhat. Knowledge with wisdom. And the knowledge which will lead to moksha. Moksha means which will lead to liberation, enlightenment, and is auspicious. Mokshasi Shubhat. So all knowledge has to be for the purposes of upliftment on one hand and for auspiciousness on the other. So this is the first tenet. So when we talk of management and when we talk of developing new management theories, new management thinking, the goal and objective is very clear. The objective is auspiciousness. Objective is enlightenment. Objective is liberation. Liberation from the bondages. So whatever management practices we think of, whatever management paradigms that we develop, they should be aimed at building up auspiciousness. And it is at this point, my dear friends, that the objective of management theory in India is going to be different from the objective of management theories in the West. In the West, the theories of management are essentially driven by the capitalist thought of making profits. Here, we are going to talk about developing management theories, developing management knowledge, developing management practices, not with the sole goal of making capitalist profit, but with the objective of upliftment of everyone, upliftment of the stakeholders, all the stakeholders in the business, whether they are the investors, whether they are professional managers, whether they are employees, or they are final consumers, customers, or it is government. That is, all stakeholders, interest of all stakeholders must be incorporated into this. This is going to be the first point when we think of developing management theory, or we are going to think of management from the point of view of ancient Indian wisdom. There is one more aspect of the direction of the management studies, and that is again very philosophical. And that philosophical standpoint is very much inherent to the ancient Indian thought. And what that thought is? That thought is of individual freedom. Now, what do we mean by individual freedom? For this purpose, once again, I will take help of a shlok from the Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, we have 18 chapters. And in the 18th chapter, Shri Krishna completes his discourse, rests his voice on 66th shlok. And in 63rd shlok, he makes a very important assertion. And that assertion actually defines the central point of ancient Indian thought, ancient Indian wisdom. And this shlok defines the significance and importance of individual freedom, individual discretion, and individual independence. Now look at this, what he says. Shri Krishna says that itite jnanam akyatam guhyad guhyataram maya vimarsha etat visheshena yachechasi tatha kuru. Now let us look at this shlok. Actually, manifestation of this shlok is found in each and every living aspect of Indians till today. Now let us look at the meaning. Krishna says, look at this. It is the 63rd shlok. It is just before the ending of the discourse that Shri Krishna is making this statement. And I am taking example from Bhagavad Gita on the assumption that you will all agree with me that the Bhagavad Gita represents the summary of Vedas and Upanishads. That is, the entire Vedic thought is actually summarized beautifully in the Bhagavad Gita. So let us come back to this shlok again. Krishna says, itite jnanam akyatam. I have completed the explanation of the knowledge. Guhyad guhyataram maya. Knowledge which is deeper of the deep. Now mark the words. He says deeper of the deep. He doesn't say deepest of the deep. He says deeper of the deep. That means there is further scope of depth. Maybe somebody else can come and expound a knowledge which is with greater depth. Let us come back again. So what does Krishna say? Itite jnanam akyatam guhyad guhyataram maya. I have explained to you the knowledge which is deeper of the deep. Then he says, vimarsha etat visheshena. Think of it, visheshena, especially. Brood over it, think over it, specially think over it. And then he says the last phrase, yathechasi tatha kuru. Do as you like. Now, when Shri Krishna makes this statement, what is he saying? I have given you all the knowledge, but now it is up to you to use it. You think over it, you brood over it, and you are free to do what you want to do. That means all the knowledge that Shri Krishna has given, that knowledge is not for compliance. It is for decision making. You decide, you choose. So that is why every Indian says one thing very clearly. Every Indian has this characteristic that you are free to think the way you want to think. You are right, and it is possible that I am also right. And if we differ, there is no problem with it. Differences are accepted. Now, this is a very important aspect of Indian thought. So, when we talk of managing people, we manage people with the standpoint, with the thinking that it is possible that people differ from us. And if they differ from us, then they do not become our enemies. If they differ from us, we permit them to differ and we find a common ground. And through that, we proceed, grow, and develop together. Another aspect of managerial behavior of Indians relates to the group behavior. Now, a general impression that has been given is that Indians are very good individually but are not good in a group. I think nothing is farther than truth than this. We Indians always have stood together in the need of hour. And whenever there has been constraint of resources, whenever there has been a crisis, whenever there is a need, Indians come together at a very fast pace, at a faster pace than any other community of the world. A few examples will be sufficient to prove my point. Look at ISRO, for example. The budget of ISRO is very small. It is only in the recent years that it has increased substantially. But in spite of the resource constraint, ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, has emerged as one of the most influential space organizations of the world. And why has it happened? It has all happened because of two things. Number one, the people power, the individual talent of Indians. And number two, their capability to work together. Work in a manner that 1 + 1 becomes greater than 1. If this aspect, this philosophical dimension had not been there, it would have been impossible to achieve the kind of achievements that ISRO has been able to make over all these years. And I think the assertion that I am making about Indians, that in the moments of need, in the moment of crisis, in the moment of any demand, extraordinary demand, Indians come together at a very fast pace. Now, from where does this aspect come? It comes from what I would say a shlok of Kathopanishad. The shlok is Sehna vavatu sehnau bhunaktu sahaviryam karva vahai tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishamavahai. What does it mean? It says Sehna vavatu, together we are protected. Sehnau bhunaktu, together we gain strength. Sahaviryam karva vahai, together we exert, we work hard. Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai, together we gain glory. And let there be no jealousy amongst us. Now, what can be a better expression for collective working, group working, team spirit, working as one? So this is the second dimension. And I strongly feel, this is my personal opinion, that the presentation of this idea that Indians are very good individually but not in a group, it is highly misplaced. In management theories, we need to bring this particular point to the fore. So this is another aspect that needs to be taken care of here. Yet another aspect of the management relates to the aspect of deciding what is right, what is wrong. The idea of ethics or morality. Now, Western thought is having its own theory of morality and it has its own theory of ethics. As far as we in India are concerned, our thinking is very different. In case of West, they focus essentially on compliance because their philosophy determines good or bad in only two forms. Either it is right or it is wrong. There is completely no scope for the grey areas, grey shades. In India, however, we do not look at everything from the point of view of right or wrong. We look at everything from the point of view of the concept. So when we look at something from the point of view of context, it means the correctness or wrongness is decided by the context and not by the fact of itself only. Let me explain this with the help of an example, with the help of a story. There was a sage. This sage had taken a vow that he will never speak lie. And one day when this sage was sitting in his meditation, he finds that an individual comes running to him. He has lost his breath, he is very scared, and he is trying to somehow trying to gather himself. He comes and speaks to the sage and says that there are some dacoits running after me, and if they happen to find me, and if they happen to catch me, they will certainly kill me. So I want to save myself, and therefore I am going and hiding myself behind your hut. And without listening to what the sage has to say, this fellow starts running and goes and hides himself behind the hut of that particular sage. After a few moments, 3-4 persons come. They all are holding weapons in their hands. They are looking ferocious, and from their look of those, sage could make out that these are not very nice people. And they approach the sage and they ask him, "Have you seen any person passing by from here?" Now at this particular point, this sage is faced with a dilemma. What is the dilemma? Dilemma is that if he tells the truth and keeps the vow that he has taken for himself, then he will have to tell those people that the individual they are looking for is hiding behind the hut of his own. But his telling the truth is going to result in the death of that individual. But if he tells the truth, then his path to heaven remains clear. If he decides to say that he has not seen anybody coming here, so then he will lose his path to going to heaven. Now, if you look at this particular dilemma or resolution of this particular dilemma from the point of view of Western philosophy, let us say Kant's thinking, the philosopher Kant's thinking, then the answer is very clear. The sage should tell them that this fellow, he should not break his vow, and the sage should direct those people to the person who is hiding behind the hut. But as far as Indian thought process is concerned, the answer is not like this. Now this dilemma can be resolved in two ways as far as the Indian thinking is concerned. One is that all decisions have to be made from the point of view of Swadharma. And what does Swadharma means? Swadharma means that Swadharma is the state of sattvic consciousness. And what is this state of sattvic consciousness? The state of sattvic consciousness has been explained by Aurobindo Ghosh. He says this state of sattvic consciousness consists of truth, honor, loyalty, fidelity, courage, chastity, love, self-sacrifice, harmlessness, forgiveness, compassion, benevolence, beneficence, and so on. And all this has to be practiced according to the context. Now here the context is, in this particular situation, that a man's life must be saved. So telling the lie is okay as far as Indian philosophy, Indian thinking is concerned. But from the point of Western thinking, it is not. And even if the sage had to maintain the aspect of, or maintain his vow of telling the truth only, then the resolution of the dilemma will be by saying that I know where the person is, but I will not tell you even if you kill me. So he decides, according to Indian philosophy or thinking, to sacrifice himself or herself for the sake of saving the life of somebody else. So this is a very important aspect of the thinking. So deciding good or bad, right or wrong, is not in binary terms. This will have to be decided in terms of the requirements of the context. And if that is so, then this sattvic state of consciousness takes care of even you're fighting, say for example, an enemy comes, a dacoit comes, an aggressor comes, and he takes away your property. He forcibly wants to kill you, wants to take away your wealth, wants to harm your family members, wants to harm your nation, then in that case, according to the sattvic state of consciousness, you have full right to protect yourself. So therefore, whereas the ethics of West rests on the concept of compliance, whatever be it, the specified rules must be complied with. The Indian thinking, the Indian way of thinking says that it is not important to comply. What is more important is taking the right decision according to the sattvic state of consciousness in a given particular context. Another aspect which relates to the managerial thinking from Indian point of view is the issues relating to the gender, more particularly the issues relating to women. How do we look at management and management practices from the point of view of women? Now, as far as ancient Indian wisdom is concerned, women is looked upon in a very special way by the ancient Indian wisdom. In the Bhagavad Gita, women have been described as having 7 characteristics. They have been described as Kirti, Shri, Vak, Smriti, Medha, Dhriti, Kshama. That is, women are embodiment of these 7 characteristics. Look at Shri. What does Shri mean? Shri means prosperity. In North India, we add a suffix before the names of all the men as Shriman, which means owner of Shri, owner of prosperity. And before the names of women in North India, there is a tradition of adding a prefix. I'm sorry, not suffix, but prefix. Adding the prefix as Shrimati. That is, Mati means mind, a mind that will bring Shri, a mind that will bring prosperity. Women are considered as embodiment of Shri. And second is Kirti, which means glory. So women are considered embodiment of glory. Apart from that, speech, the auspicious speech, Vak, that is what it means. Smriti, the memory, they are also considered embodiment of Medha, which means talent, special qualities. Dhriti, that is, women are embodiment of Dhriti, which means being able to bear all difficulties and troubles. And lastly, they are embodiment of Kshama, forgiveness. Now, these are the beautiful qualities that women are considered to be containing among themselves. This is the view of women. This is the correct and the positive way of looking at women. And it is from this point of view that we should think of managing the gender issues. If this is our visualization regarding women, then it has lot of implications for the management and organization of business enterprises. Now let us look at it like this. If we respect women as Shri, Kirti, Dhriti, Kshama, etc., then our organizations, our business enterprises need to be organized according to the needs of women. The business enterprises that we have organized so far following the West, that is modeled on the idea that women are different from men. The organizations are essentially run by men. They are meant for the men. So it is 9 to 5 organization. Now, if the women are gaining importance and given women have to be respected, women have become part of labor workforce, it is very much required that the business enterprises are reorganized. Their organizational structures are changed to meet the needs and requirements of the women folk. So that will be an important thing. In India, women have been working with men shoulder to shoulder traditionally. In the villages, if you go and see, women play a much, much greater role than men in the production of agricultural output, and so on. I don't have to discuss all this in greater detail, but as far as the ancient Indian wisdom is concerned, it demands, it requires that the women folk need to be given substantial significance in the management of the affairs of business enterprises. And keeping that visualization and that image, that understanding, that concept of women, the organizations need to remodel their working in accordance with the needs and requirements of women. Now, my dear friends, I have highlighted a few aspects of ancient Indian wisdom which can be very well and easily, seamlessly incorporated in the management thought which would be unique to India. There are many more aspects, there are many more dimensions that can be considered by the thinkers, scholars, academicians, and researchers. And I would hope that some of these aspects can be considered by you, those who are listening to me right now, for developing an indigenous thought, a thought which is unique to India and can bring about a body of knowledge, develop a body of knowledge which will be useful for us Indians as Indians. Thank you very much.